So chances are you've run into somebody running the STG in one of your matches of Vanguard. Now, that's probably because it's one of the weapons that they have ranked up fully. Naturally, one of the biggest parts with a brand new game is ranking up every weapon, and so when you have something that's fully kitted right out of the gate, you're going to naturally want to use it. However, there are a ton of weapons that can drastically outclass the STG, and this one we're talking about today is one of them. This class setup is insane, and I promise if you can get used to it, you are going to love it. But that said, let me know your thoughts down below. What do you guys think of this class setup? Try it out. Let me know how you do with it. Is there any weapon you want to see in particular broken down in a future video? Do you like the format? Do you want to continue individual class setups like this? Whatever the case, drop your thoughts down below. But if you enjoyed the video, make sure you drop a like down below. Let's aim for 2,000 likes on this video. And of course, if you are new to the channel, hit that subscribe button to stay up to date with all things Vanguard, whether that be class setups, whether that be top 5, top 10s, whether that be camo guides, tips, tricks, all that kind of stuff. We got you covered here on the channel. With nearly 60% of viewers not subscribed, we're on the road to 500,000 subscribers. So if you guys would like to join the community and get informed along the way, I'd love to have you. That said, let's jump right into it. So, truthfully, I was actually looking to get a top 5 class setup out for you, but that may be coming tomorrow or Wednesday now. But being so focused on the camo challenges at the beginning to get gold on a couple of guns, and unfortunately, with the guns that I chose, those were bugged, so it didn't let me progress them. With all that in consideration, I didn't get the right builds and right weapons that I wanted to exactly where I wanted them to be by now when I wanted that video to go live. But that said, that's where we can pivot, because while ranking up weapons and while compiling this list of a top 5 and also grinding out some challenges for specific weapons, one really caught my attention, that being the bar. Now, the STG absolutely dominates the air quote meta early on here within Call of Duty Vanguard, but with that likely being a weapon that will be adjusted here in the very near future, and with 37 other weapons in the game, there's a lot to choose from. But I think that once we see this STG adjusted, this one is going to stand out in particular, the bar, and potentially even this exact build, especially if you're playing at range. You're going for medium to long range kills. The bar, admittedly, at first, I hated it. It's not great in any real regards at its base outside of the damage per shot firepower. The magazine size, very low. You can't challenge a ton of engagements with only 20 rounds. The reserve ammo pool, again, not great. Could be worse though, I guess. The recoil, there's quite a bit on it. And so at the start, it's a weapon that you're gonna get wiped against STGs and other things that are fully ranked out like that. But once you start ranking it up, my word, it's incredibly effective. Unfortunately, if you are somebody like me that likes to have a lot of ammo in reserve, you're gonna take a little bit of time to get used to this, because the only magazine that is above 20 rounds is unlocked at, I want to say 68 or 69 in that weapon level. I can't check anymore. You can't go back and look at the weapon levels once you've reached max, but once you start to kit this thing out, you'll get the feel of it and you won't necessarily need that 30 rounds. But there is a couple of things that really do make this an absolute powerhouse of a weapon. So let's start out with the base statistics here for this weapon. Based upon what's in the game, we end up seeing the bar at its base can do 40 damage. So technically it's a 2-shot with 2 headshots, though that's not something you'll normally hit, especially with the iron sight to the bar. Not necessarily the best. The fire rate right around 400 RPMs, the vital damage 60, bullet velocity about 885 meters per second, doing 27 vehicle damage per shot. For some mobility stuff, not everything is of super importance, but your sprint to fire time, that's 267 milliseconds with an aim down sight time of 315 milliseconds. As for your accuracy, that's where you come into contact with things like your vertical and recoil control, your hip fire spread and things like that. Your vertical recoil control is 77.1 degrees per second. Your horizontal is 1.3 degrees per second, and then your hip fire accuracy comes down to 8 degrees. Now, this is a weapon that has naturally a lot of kick. 77 degrees per second is a lot. That's something that isn't super easy to manage if you're a player that maybe isn't used to that recoil pattern, doesn't have it quite locked down on how to pull down on your right thumbstick just yet. But like I said, some of these things, even at its base, do stand out. It's just mitigated by some things like that slower ADS speed, slower sprint to fire time, a little bit bulkier of a weapon, and also then the recoil itself. Things like a 40 damage per shot, that's pretty solid. Again, with a headshot, that's a 2-shot kill. So how do we make it better? What are we looking to actually control in terms of this weapon to make it as best as possible? Well, one of the big things is, of course, that recoil control, but also you can adjust the damage as well, making it even more powerful than it already is. Now, the build we're talking about here today, I actually found a little bit when I was farming long shots, both for the camo challenges specifically for long shots, and also there's a long shot challenge that includes one of the attachments in this build. It's like one of 3 or something like that. So I will say straight up, in some of the gameplay you'll probably see a little bit later on in the video, we're farming those long shots, so it's not super riveting gameplay. It's not gameplay where I'm super objective heavy or anything like that. It was kind of cheese and I didn't quite like playing like it, but it's a perfect example of how powerful this thing is at range. So coming back to it, like I said, we're going to be focusing on recoil as well as damage. The first attachment you want to throw on is the G28 compensator. Now, the muzzles actually offer a decent bit in terms of changes for the weapon, and you can't really go wrong with any one in particular, offering up damage range, accuracy, sound suppression, fire rate, muzzle flash concealment, and recoil control. But the G28 compensator offers that recoil control, which is incredibly helpful to the weapon itself, but also with zero cons associated with it. So phenomenal, absolutely add that one on. One of the big ones that ends up adjusting this weapon in particular and this build is that of the barrel of the CGC 30-inch XL barrel. This offers up recoil control and accuracy, reduced scope sway and gun bob, and flinch resistance for some slight cons of aim down sight speed, movement speed, and sprint to fire speed. Now, this is never going to be that weapon that you really want to rush into an engagement with anyway, so having a little bit of those cons, that's okay. It's not the end of the world. Then I'll add the slate reflector just for that extra precision. I don't quite like the NIDAR or the things like the MK8 reflector. Those regular reticles, not my fancy really. The slate reflector is just a straight up dot. So super precise, non-intrusive whatsoever. I like that option here with that. Then we end up taking the Chariot WR stock for +4 aiming stability, +3 recoil control, +3 accuracy, and +2 flinch resistance, offering up a lot of our control just right here in this one attachment. The cons, unfortunately, are some decent hits to your movement speed and your aim down sight speed, but again, that's not something you're really focusing on with a weapon that only has 20 rounds per mag and that you're playing at medium range for. For an underbarrel, we end up having the Carver foregrip for +2 recoil control and some hip fire accuracy. Everything else in the underbarrel category does offer a decent bit, but you're going to get the most recoil control out of this particular attachment. Then perhaps one of the biggest things out of this entire class setup is the magazine. This is the 50 BMG 20 round mag. You can take 30, but 20 gets the job done for sure and for less penalties. You end up gaining +2 bullet velocity, which if you actually want to take this into a numerical comparison is a 20% increase. You get more bullet penetration and additional damage as well, bringing that 40 damage per shot all the way up to a 68, which is again insane. That makes it at base a 2-hit anywhere from center mass. So if there's one lone attachment that really makes this perhaps the powerhouse that it is, it might be these BMG rounds. Then we'll take the ammo type of lengthened, offering up +3 bullet velocity, which equates out to a 30% increase in that bullet velocity. Then we'll take the pine tar grip for additional recoil control and hip fire accuracy, and then finally close out the build with the hard scope proficiency, adding more accuracy and recoil when sustaining ADS. So taking those shots, if you're aiming down sight, that's gonna help you. Then finally, fully loaded, because like I said, the ammo pool could be a little bit better, and as somebody that likes to have ammo, I can absolutely go on a streak without ever having to worry about popping my ammo box, but it's there in my back pocket if I need it. So this thing, if you kit it out as such, it will be a 2-shot across the map. The gameplay you're seeing here is evidence of that, and it's something that honestly, enemies don't stand a chance. The STG is pretty powerful for how accurate it is, how quick it can kill, but at the same time, that's because it has more ammo, it has more fire rate. This is something that's a little bit more precise, but absolutely packs a punch. It will kick a player across a map. And when you build it as such, you're not really going to notice anything in terms of recoil. You're going to mitigate that tremendously. In fact, taking a look at the overall statistics at the end, we end up having a damage of 68, whereas we had it beforehand of 40, which is a 70% increase there with that. You're going to end up having a 20% increase in that effective damage range. You're going to have between the BMG rounds and the lengthened ammo type, an increase of 50% in that bullet velocity. You'll also increase the vehicle damage by 70%. And probably the biggest kicker here out of all of this is that, remember how we said the vertical recoil control was 77.1 degrees per second? That ends up with this build coming down to only 35.9, taking that and cutting it in half. That is insane for recoil control on a weapon. So if you're somebody that wants to take out players at medium to long range, there's almost no weapon in Vanguard right now that will contest this. There's very few. I'd say that the SVT being a one-shot, having a center mass potential with an attachment, which we may talk about here in another video build, or just in that top 5. Snipers, of course, being one shot, one kill, but 2-shot across the map is insane to consider and can be done with this bar setup. So that said, give this thing a go, try it out. If you want to grind out out camos for the bar, this is one of the best builds, I think, to do it, and with ease. And also, if you're just trying to hold map control, this thing is one of the best to do it. So that said, give it a go. Let me know how you feel down there in the comment section down below about this. Do you like this bar? Do you like the bar overall? Because again, like I said, I hated it first, but coming back to it, finding this build, it was phenomenal. It's an entire flip of my opinion on the weapon. But that said, again, drop your thoughts below. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to drop a like down below. And of course, if you are new to the channel, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss a single thing regarding all things Vanguard, whether that be best class setups like this, top 5s coming very soon, tips, tricks, camo guides, all that stuff, we got you covered on the channel. So if you're interested, hit that subscribe button. If you also want to follow me over on Twitter and Instagram, those are the best places to chat with me outside of YouTube. So if you guys want to strike up a conversation, ask me a question, whatever the case may be, links in the description below. That said, thanks so much for watching. My name is Espresso. I'll see you guys later. Take care and peace.